Hello everyone, I'm currently in Thetford, the final destination of our T5 hide refining adventure. Today, I want to share all the details with you, the costs, the time it took, the profit I made, and of course, my personal thoughts about the whole process. But let's start from the beginning. It all started in Lymhurst, where I had been gathering hides in the nearby forest for some time. I decided to refine the resources I had gathered to see if I could make a profit from them. Because I can't afford a mammoth yet, I couldn't transport everything in one trip. I prepared 5 packages of raw resources that I had to transport to Martlock. Before leaving, I took a look at how much my resources were worth in Lymhurst. Here's the total amount of resources, their average prices, and their total value. In total, my goods were worth about 10,165,900 silver, and after deducting the 10% tax, around 9,149,310 silver. Knowing the value of my resources, I made my way to Martlock. The one-way trip from Lymhurst to Martlock took me 17 minutes. After delivering the first package, I had to return to Lymhurst to pick up another load. The total transport time for everything took me 2 hours and 32 minutes. Once I had transported everything, it was finally time to dive into the refining process. Turns out my first estimates were a bit inaccurate, and I didn't have enough raw materials. So, I bought an additional 106 pieces of Tier 4 leather for 20,000 silver. I'm not counting the refining time in our summary, but I'll definitely include the cost. In total, refining cost me 235,000 silver. I also ended up with some leftover materials, but not enough to really include in the summary. So, I decided to check how much I could get for my Tier 5 leather in Martlock. For the entire amount, 12,000 pieces, I could get over 12,072,000 silver. After deducting the 10% tax, I would be left with about 10,864,800 silver. So I checked prices in other cities, and Thetford turned out to be the best choice. Once again, I couldn't carry everything in one trip, so I had to split the transport into 3 parts. The trip from Martlock to Thetford took me 8 minutes, and in total I spent 35 minutes. The trip to Thetford paid off. The average prices for Tier 5 leather are higher than in Martlock, around 1,043 silver per piece. That gives me about 12,516,000 silver, and after deducting the 10% tax, I'd get around 11,264,400 silver. I did a bit of research and decided not to sell my leather just yet. I know the price should rise soon, maybe even above 1,090 silver per piece. Now is the perfect moment to compile everything and draw the final conclusions. Let's start with the costs, which were 235,000 silver for refining and 15,000 silver for the pork pie, giving us a total of 250,000 silver. Now it's time for the profits. I could have sold our raw materials in Lymhurst for 9,149,310 silver. However, we transported them to Martlock, and after refining, we could cash in about 10,864,800 silver. We decided to transport everything to Thetford to make more profit. Listing everything on the market at 1,043 silver per piece, we would have made about 11,264,400 silver. However, we decided to wait a bit before selling until the price reaches about 1,090 silver per piece, which would give us around 11,772,000 silver. So we have 2 selling options, 1,043 silver per piece and 1,090 silver per piece. After deducting the 250,000 costs, this leaves us with a profit of 1,865,090 silver with the first option, or 2,372,690 silver with the second option. Let's not forget one thing. Time is money. The total transport time was roughly 3 hours. Breaking it down, that's about 621,000 silver per hour with the first option, or 791,000 silver per hour with the second option. What can be learned from this? It's not a mind-blowing profit when it comes to profit per hour. Gathering and transporting hides from Lymhurst isn't the best option.
Wow.
It would be better to gather around Bridgewatch, especially if you don't have a mammoth. Having a mammoth would be the best option, but it's very, very expensive. I think that by investing a bit, we could reduce that time by just over an hour. That would give us about 950,000 per hour with the first option and around 1.2 million per hour with the second option. I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. Maybe you spotted some mistakes I made or have ideas on how I could do things better. Please let me know. As always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. Thank you all for today, and see you next time.